Hello, podcast listener. This is your host with most, JJ Gordon from JJ Meets World. In this episode, Tucker and I are going to have some long conversations about An American Tail. Don't worry, we keep the arguing to a minimum. And we're also going to discuss things like cleaning hotel rooms and whether or not I should be allowed to drive while I'm very sick. Sit back, relax, and enjoy this episode of JJ Meets World. And by the way, if you'd like to help support our podcast, visit jjmeetsworld.com where you can donate to our Patreon, pick up some killer swag at our merch shop, or click the link to Apple Podcast and give us a 5-star review.
1, 2, 3, 4. JJ Gordon, sort of like that Indiana Jones in that he's always sniffing out his next adventure. Yes, he is. He's always interviewing guests so he can have them on his show and they can talk about pop culture, arts, and leisure. JJ has his flag unfurled and he likes his french fries curled and he's fun and then he twirled as he goes to meet the world. He will march into the rain even if his ankle sprained. Take a peek inside his brain. This podcast is called JJ Meets World.
I had a memory on Facebook today, Tucker, that involved you. And it was, when Tucker, Lucas, and I get together at brunch, conversations go from this to this to this to this.
When was the last time you and I had brunch?
It's been a long time. I mean, this memory on Facebook was
Is this pre-pandemic?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And was it Granite City?
I'm assuming so.
But
we had other brunch places that we went to occasionally.
Occasionally, but really I think Granite City is the one that we have done the most of, if I'm remembering that correctly. I might not be.
Did you ever go to Famous Dave's for their brunch?
Not that I can recall. No.
So it was great because it had the things that you wouldn't expect on brunch. You'd be like, rib tips? What the what?
Right.
And it was delightful. I just got home from a visit to the Twin Cities, and I want to talk about a couple of my experiences that I had in the Twin Cities.
Dude, I'm going to eat these Bugles that you brought me.
Yes, America's Finger Hat. You enjoy those Bugles.
Yeah.
I noticed you ate two at the same time.
Oh.
You're not going to individually bugle?
No.
Why? Because you're not afraid of choking? Or that you're so comfortable with me that you know I'll take care of you if you start choking?
I don't know if there's a single snack chip type thing that I ever eat one at a time.
Oh, really?
But that is impulse control issues that I struggle with.
Okay. Yeah.
Right? Just like I would never eat one French fry.
I will look at someone and eat a single chip. Like I'll make eye contact and like...
As a deliberate provocation, that makes sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
I would do that too if I really felt like I want you to know that I don't respect you, so I'm going to eat one chip.
Yeah.
But I'm letting you know right now,
you.
I respect you. I'm going to eat multiple.
Like, do you have chips?
Excuse me.
So we went for a lot of reasons. We had a delightful weekend of seeing some theater. We did some experiences that were really neat. A little shopping, the food out of this world. But I want to talk a little bit at first about the world premiere I went to last night. They have adapted An American Tail into a Broadway show. Fievel's An American Tail.
Holy shit.
Into a Broadway show, and they workshopped it and had the world premiere at the Children's Theater in Minneapolis, which, by the way, if you have never gone to something at the Children's Theater, they do some of the best theater in the entire world. I'm going to talk, like, just briefly. They did an original piece about Galileo that, like, changed my opinion on science, which was awesome. Amber Waves is the most moving piece of theater I've ever seen in my life. They performed that there. A Year with Frog and Toad, which they're doing again this year, thank goodness. But it's awesome. And then every year they do the How the Grinch Stole Christmas. It's like a staple for them. But this, they got the opportunity to work with a gentleman who got the rights to adapt An American Tail into a stage piece. So I'm a fan of the original. Now, it is one I will say where the sequel's better than the original.
I was going to say, I noticed that I'm noticing that he did not you go for the less quality Fievel Goes West. He went with the absolute gold standard.
I'm telling you, the scuttlebutted intermission was everyone saying, like, when do they go out west? When do they go out west?
I bet that wasn't.
This is the take up from the second.
First of all, I doubt a scuttlebutt happened at all.
There was a scuttlebutt because there was a. So here's what I think was really interesting. So it's the world premiere, right? And so there were a bunch of people from like the creative team, like that were a part of it. And it was fun to be at something that was having its world premiere, right?
Full House?
Oh, packed to the gills. In fact, a friend of ours was trying to get a ticket and had to wait until the very last second where there's someone who was unable to make it and she was able to scamp up that last ticket. So the show is very enjoyable. It is definitely meant to, like, the message in it is very there's 12 messages and they're all very clear, right? So this is a show that's very union friendly for starters, which seems to come out of nowhere. Clearly, like, about immigration and the melting pot of our culture. That's important there. There's a huge part about the class system that I did not see coming. That was not part of the original. And child labor is another piece that gets woven in there pretty thickly. And so I think that they decided that they want to, put a mirror up to society's face. And they had to adapt part of it. So, for example, there's no character of Tiger. So Dom DeLuise's Tiger is nixed from the script.
What?
Yeah. Nixed from the script. But I think...
Wait, what?
I know. I was waiting for him the whole time. Like, when is he going to come up? When's he going to come up? But to be quite honest, one of the adaptation pieces of this is the fact that scale is a hard thing to achieve, right? Because the mice are supposed to be so much smaller than the cats. And so if you had a character who was Tiger next to this little kid mouse, it was going to seem weird.
So does the song "There Are No Cats in America" stay?
Yeah, it's a showstopper.
Are there any cats in the play?
There are cats, yes. So they keep... At first, it's a stagecraft thing where they have these giant glowing eyes that must be like on a, like a big pole or something. And they've got like this kind of like electronic cat that comes out and two big paws that come through. So they establish a size thing. And then later on, they're like, oh, but we'll just have some adults play cats. We'll just have some grown men play some cats. What they did do you remember the character of Digit, the cockroach?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay. They really expand that role, and they give Digit maybe the best number in the show because he's the one who ends up freeing Fievel from his cage. And he sings this amazing song, and it's like a whole cockroach dance. It turned out to be really, really good, and I like that a lot.
How did they do the giant, the mythic rat?
So they didn't create, like... Here's what's weird. So they talk about how if they unite together, they can stop the cats, right? But it's not with this, the build a great weapon. What they do is they keep talking about there's power in numbers.
God damn
power
it.
in numbers.
Fucking hate this play.
And so they talk about the mythic, the Mouse of Minsk, which was this gigantic mouse. Mm-hmm. It's a story that Papa told them. And throughout this whole thing, you find out like Fievel escapes from his sweatshop by sewing all of the scraps together. And so what they do is they bring all the scraps together and make this giant like mouse costume that comes out and terrifies the cats. So you still get the secret weapon, but it's not quite as good as it was before.
I love the way they did it in the film. I mean, it's so scary.
Good. Yeah.
It's so scary.
Don Bluth did scary animation really well.
Very, very well.
I will say this. Here's the biggest problem with the whole thing. Henri the pigeon. So they make tails. Like all the mice have these long tails that drag on the floor that are like, pink. And at times I'm like, oh my God, what if they step on their own tails? What if they do this? But they look really good. And they're not like a prop piece. They don't walk around like swinging the tails or anything, but they're there and you just kind of accept it. And so you realize like every character on stage, all 40 of them all have little tails going on right now. And that's awesome. And the ears, I have no idea how they got the ears to stay on the heads, but those looked awesome. And the costuming was great. But Henri the pigeon had these, it was the actress who played Henri had these two long pipes that she kind of held out that had like this gossamer. And so instead of, they were to represent her wings and stuff, right? And I'm thinking like, well, you did fur for everything else. Why don't you just do some feathers? It's one thing, just add feathers to it. You missed an opportunity here. It should be feathers. And like they put feathers on top of her bird hat. So why shouldn't they do more feathers? When you walk in, a lot of times when you walk into a theater now, the grand drape isn't closed anymore. Almost all sets involve the grand being open and having some kind of a fly system. And in this case, you walk in and it's a giant suitcase, like an old steamer's type suitcase, and that was pretty good. Every number you knew from the musical, except for Duo, which is the one that Tiger and Fievel sing, was included with
Tiger.
it.
Well, now they're definitely never doing Five Goes West.
I don't know.
You can't do that without Tiger.
Maybe you introduce Tiger as a new character in this.
No.
And I was waiting until the very end with like some kind of line like, "What's next, Fievel? We're gonna go west," and they didn't. They held themselves back from doing something like that. A lot of children at this show. They were all just like completely, engaged the whole time, and I felt kind of like I was watching what every community theater for the next 15 years is going to do, is put on a production, because it's got costume, it's got dance, it's got singable songs, and it's got a sweet storyline about like being reunited with family. So I thought it was pretty good.
I'll tell you one thing, if I ever direct this fucking thing, that giant rat's coming back and I'm rewriting Tiger back.
You're going to put Tiger's character
in? I don't give a flying fuck.
The character of Tony.
Both you would be a great Tiger.
Oh, I know. I would love it. I would love it.
Mm-hmm. You'd be really, really. Oh,
I feel like I'd be a great Tiger. I'd also be a great Cowardly Lion.
Who do we cast in our production of An American Tale?
Well, so they cast a kid as Fievel, and it seemed to work out pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, you would definitely want to, but let's just say we can't. Let's just say we have to do.
We have to put an adult person
the whole time.
Is this a celebrity cast or people we know?
People we know here in town. Like if we had to mount it using the performers that we know.
So Missy Teeters is going to be Gussie, the uptown mouse, the rich uptown mouse, because she could really get some laughs out of that.
Would Jake be the grasshopper?
The cockroach?
The cockroach or whatever?
No, so in this it was a female played Digit. Mm-hmm. And I think that would work out just fine. Mm-hmm. In fact, I think that so you'd need someone who could who's sort of rail thin for that, because they're supposed to be skittery and little pieces like that.
Did Fievel?
Here's the thing. I would love to play Tiger, but I also think I would be a pretty good Papa.
Yeah, you'd be a great Papa.
Oh, by the way, I buried the lead. Reed Sigmund.
So I was wondering if he was
Reed Sigmund plays Honest John, the politician mouse, with this Irish accent, and he is phenomenal. And they've got this, so they open on this thing, they're like, you need to see Honest John. He knows every mouse in the city. And so it starts at him, and he's like, oh, friends, we're here to say goodbye to our beloved Mickey. And it was this huge dig at Disney about how the mouse is dead. And he goes, and it's so sad because he can no longer vote. And it was a really good role for him.
How long has he been with them now?
22 years.
God, he is amazing.
Now, did you hear about the tragedy that happened to them this last year?
No.
Their house burned down.
Oh, no.
And he had to jump from the second story window out of his burning house.
Holy shit.
Yeah, it was so there's even a GoFundMe, I think it's at like 72,000 right now.
Oh my God.
But his whole family was at home. They all got out safely. Okay. But they lost everything.
Oh my God.
Everything is gone.
I had not heard that. Oh, yeah. That's
tragic.
He is amazing as a performer.
I've seen Reed Sigmund. Now, Reed Sigmund, Fargo roots, Fargo North grad. His dad, Rudy, ran Videoland for forever and then started ValleyCon. Reed, I saw in Honk there where he originated the role as a musical based on The Ugly Duckling. I've seen him in A Year with Frog and Toad, and he was amazing in that one. Like, he could just tour the country doing that role over and over and over again.
How many people are just employed as actors there for that long?
I think there's a fair number of people, and the thing is they progress in their roles, right? So he progressed from someone who played people in their 20s to playing Honest John, the old Irish mouse.
Did Fievel have long sleeves?
Oh yeah, the Fievel costume was perfect.
Okay.
The only change that they made is the little boy clearly wears glasses, so they had to incorporate glasses as part of Fievel's character.
There hasn't been a 4K release of that movie, has there?
I don't believe so.
Has there been a Blu-ray release of that movie?
I don't even know. But you can, so there are HD rips of it you can see because it's been aired on like HBO.
Got it. Okay.
There's that weird thing of where like HBO for whatever reason has all these HD versions of movies that never got released on home video. Mm-hmm. So, but it was very interesting. My wife did note, she goes, they don't have a gift shop. And I said, I know they don't. Not every Every musical has a gift shop, Jill.
I wonder, well, yeah, I mean, that's a whole rights issue in and of itself, right? Like if you're, unless it's for just the theater, like, oh, it's the theater gift shop,
right?
Of just generic stuff, but for the show, you wouldn't be able to.
And interestingly enough, they had a lot of, in American Tail, like they had a couple like metal standees that you could take a photo with. And like they had a bunch of like window clings everywhere. And so I said, oh, this is, but I mean, and they used the animated Fievel on the program for it and the poster.
Sure.
So they must have enough of the rights, and a huge chunk of the James Horner score is included in this.
Sure.
Which is really nice.
I just think that they would have, the show rights for that or whatever, they probably got to that point, but that's...
You think that someone's got to be making some an American Tail. Like, there's a girl who showed up and she had an American Tail backpack. I also did not know how many super fans there were. People who traveled from all parts of the globe to come see this thing on opening night.
Because they know
that this is the best.
If this had been called, Wild West, where the fuck?
It's not called Wild West.
Might as well be.
Like Will Smith voiced it?
It's as good as Wiki Wild Wild West.
Okay. I'm not going to even argue with it anymore because people know that in American Tail, you had to get through an American Tail to get to Fievel Goes West. Now, beyond that, like Fievel and the Manhattan Project and, Fievel and the land grab.
Is it 4 or 5?
I think there's like 7 or 8.
Okay.
But a lot of them were, like 60-minute animated films.
Straight to VHS.
You know who's really mad about An American Tail is Don Bluth directed the first one and then was not asked back to direct the second one.
Isn't he crazy, though?
He is crazy. I listened to his whole autobiography, and I do not care for the man.
American Tail, All Dogs Go to Heaven,
Land Before
Time. These all have really
The Secret of Nim,
scary, violent scenes that are like, holy shit. And I wish we would get more scenes like that again, because I think kids need it. I think it's good for you.
I think Pixar has done some stuff like that, but not to the extent that we had that was nightmare fuel.
Mm-hmm.
Like you go back and you think of The Secret of Nim, and there are moments in that like, like the old rat who's got glowing eyes and man, how much peyote were you guys smoking?
What would have been fun to see would have been in-studio footage of Tim Curry doing the voice of Hexus for Fern Gully.
I'll bet you it exists out there somewhere.
Really?
Yeah.
Because, that's the kind of performance where you have to get physical with it as you're doing it. There's no way you can't.
I truly have to believe that they probably did all the audio recording and taped that and showed that to the animators, because like the Hexus does like this little dance like this. And it's very sexual. Very sexual.
Hell yeah. We need more of that shit too.
We need
things
stuff
to be a bit sexier, I think. Things aren't sexy enough right now. They could be a bit sexier.
You think so?
In general, just across the board.
Oh, yeah?
I think all things need a little more sexy right now.
Oh, see,
I need a little more sexy. You're doing pretty good, but
yeah,
I need some more sexy.
I went to a Minnesota Twins game.
Ooh, that's baseball?
It's a baseball. That's with the bats, with the wood.
Yeah, I know
and
what
they
that
hit
is.
the balls.
Yeah.
So I got some really nice VIP tickets through work. And when I requested them, they were like, you?
Well, but going to live sports is actually a shit ton of fun.
It is.
I love going to stadiums, football stadiums, baseball, even going to catch a hockey game like with friends. When I used to tour for poker night all the time, we would oftentimes like, hey, is there a stadium in town here? Can we go get cheap tickets to a game or something? And it's a lot of fun to go with your friends. You have to be quiet like you do at a movie or a play.
Cheer.
Fucking drink beer. Spend way too much money on a hot dog. Watch someone fight someone else. But it's a lot of fun. I love going to Red Hawks games. It's a lot of fun to go. Just to be there. I'm just not following the fortunes of the team outside of that game.
So let's talk a little bit about professional baseball, because I've learned a lot this season by taking, I thought to be better at my job as the brand manager of KFGO, I need to be more well-versed when it comes to sports. And so one of the things this year is they've now added this pitch clock. Are you familiar with this new rule? So the MLB this last year has put a pitch clock saying that a pitcher must pitch And I think it's like from the time the batter gets up there, you've got 20 seconds to pitch the ball. And it has drastically driven the runtime of a game down. So we used to block out like up to 5 hours for a game. Now games can be finished in like in an hour and 45 minutes, right? So the pitch clock has changed things, and people said it makes it better, right? It's more engaging to watch because you're not waiting for these huge, waits in between. But at the same time, they said now it's really messing with pitchers' heads because, like, let's say this pitch is going to decide the game, which a lot of times it does come down to stuff like that. And they need that moment to like, and then look into the eyes of the batter, look into the eyes of the catcher, figure out what you're going to do, take another deep breath in. And before you know it, they're like,
Why not just make it 7 innings instead of 9 innings?
See, you could do that too, because I think Australian baseball is only 7 innings.
See, that's another thing I didn't know.
Yeah, there you go. So this is the exciting thing about our game. So it's the Twins versus the Kansas City Royals. And the Twins were off to an early lead. And by the time we got to the top of the 9th, Kansas City's up first. The Twins are up 8-6. So if Kansas City doesn't score any runs, at least ties up the game, the Twins automatically win. They don't even play the bottom of the 9th, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm explaining this stuff to Jill because it makes me sound semi-intelligent when it comes to sports. And they're like, they got this thing taken care of. It's no big deal. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden they get someone just sails it right past the shortstop and they get on second. And then
is that a double?
It's a double, yeah. And do they call it a double or is it a double play? I think was 2 outs, but it's a double. Yeah, you call it a double if you hit and you got 2 bases.
We got to get my Uncle Paul back on here. He can explain all of it to us.
Then the next guy comes up and he hits that same open slot, but he gets to first and he gets to second. So now we've got a runner at second and third ready to go, right? Mm-hmm. And so you're like, Twins, you've got a 2-run lead. What are you doing waiting for this?
The single home run just fucks them right there.
And then they get a guy who gets on base. And so oh, shit. Now bases are loaded. They get it's not even a full count yet. 3 balls right off the bat. And I'm like, if they walk this guy, they get a run. They get to score a run for this.
Yep.
So I'm telling Jill, this is bad news. And they've got 2 more outs. WTF. This is some crazy shit. And I said, and at this point, not only had the rain delayed the start of the game by 2 hours, but it was very cool in the city. It was getting to be night. So there's maybe 1,000 people left in the stands, right? So it's sparse at best. And now we are getting to enjoy one heck of a last inning of baseball. And so they have a full count, 2 outs, 2 strikes, 3 balls, bases loaded. This next pitch pretty much decides it all. And pitch, boom, big whiff. And that ended the game. But not before the inning before. The coach for the Royals stormed out and got in the face of the ump and was yelling about a strike that he had called and really getting into it. And we were all like, oh my God, is he going to throw this guy out? I was ready for him to kick some dirt and stuff like that. But I realized it is fun to go to sporting events. Even if you don't have any skin in the game, you don't really care who wins or who loses. It's still fun to pick a team and to root for them, especially when they win.
I really want to see a boxing match. I want to see an MMA match.
Yeah,
any of the promotions because it's insane ticket price to try to get a UFC pay-per-view. Like $10,000 or something to get in the front sections, right, where all the celebrities are. But that would be a lot of fun. I would love to go see a pro wrestling, that not a local pro wrestling, but WWE pro wrestling would be a lot of fun when they've got a full stadium because they fucking pack houses crazy still. That would be a lot of fun.
I
would not watch curling.
No?
Probably not.
See, you know what I think I would go to that I would like?
I take that back. I think I would go to it, but I would be like, all right, it's been 5 minutes. I'm good. Thank you.
I'd like to go to a professional bowling.
I would go to that.
I think that those would be awesome because you sit they set up these tall chairs and everyone sits and they eat pork rinds and they watch a game with a beer. And I think that it was one of the last sports where you could smoke cigarettes. And I like the idea that's the sports fan that I want to be interacting with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wouldn't mind going to a NASCAR race once.
Yeah,
maybe or Indy race once. But
Today I stopped at the Clearwater Travel Plaza, the Nelson Brothers in Clearwater, Minnesota, because I had to get apple fritter bread as a gift from my sister. And while I was there, the Army took all the hot dogs. Here's what I'm talking about.
what?
There were like 4 Army vehicles, and then they all got out and they all were wearing their Army fatigues, and they all went in and they took all the hot dogs off all the rollers. They just took them all.
Huh.
And I was like, Army, it's kind of a dick move,
Like
don't
they,
you think?
they ate them all right there?
They took them all off the rollers, and then they
So these
left.
are cooked hot dogs.
Yeah, they're on the roller.
Yeah.
They're acceptable.
But that's like 10 maybe hot
no,
dogs in there?
no, this is a huge travel plaza.
Oh,
This
okay.
must have been 20 to 30.
Okay.
And then other Army came in, and other Army was mad that the first Army had
Yeah.
taken all the hot dogs.
They knew Navy was coming and they wanted
probably
to
knew.
get it done. Which sure there's
And
Navy in Minnesota.
I was like, I don't know, man. I think that this is the problem with our military, is that they haven't coordinated what they're doing when it comes to hot dog distribution amongst the ranks. But Jill and I also had this discussion. We stayed at an Embassy Suites because I like Embassy Suites. They've got everything I want. Evening reception. Usually have a pool and a hot tub, workout facility. I can get a digital key. I used my Hilton Honors points this weekend to get our room for free. But I will say this. The breakfast is no bueno. And it's a cook-to-order breakfast. And they used to have the bacon and sausage like on the buffet line. Now you've got to go talk to the cook to get it. And so they're deciding how much bacon I should have. And now I didn't say I have another round of bacon, and they denied me. It's adding some shame to my stay, right? That I had to even think about, like, ugh, do I want to go up and have them say like, oh, look, it's Captain Bacon. It's Mr. Bacon Pants coming up there.
Isn't there some kind of law against food shaming or something? Blood
should
shaming?
be.
Yeah.
I don't know if there is. Probably not, actually.
I think that's for kids who can't pay it at school.
Right. That's for.
But we should really extend it to something like you could pay, but it's just the fact that you would have to go get more.
Right. Yeah. And here's the thing. It's supposed to be included in my room. That's why I chose this place, so I could have all the bacon I wanted without having to justify it to the cook, who's already on my case because I wanted everything except for spinach in my omelet. And he's like, there's like 20 things. And I'm like, yeah, crack 4 eggs. So, but then like their offerings on their buffet part were really slim pickings. One of them were hash browns that clearly were burnt like black. But then when I put a slop of them on my plate, they were not cooked. It was raw potato. And how does this happen where you burn it, but you don't cook it? Like, I don't get it.
They started it with too high heat and didn't leave it on for long enough.
It's so stupid.
So it was just enough to sear the outside, but not enough to actually cook everything through. You know, I've actually had issues with hash browns myself where I'm like, this shouldn't be this hard, but it actually kind of is. There's a whole fucking process you have to do about, like, you shred it, then you have to like tamp it down with like a paper towel to get all the moisture out. Then you got to let it dry out for a little bit. Then you got to do all this other shit.
But here's the problem. How often do you make hash browns?
Well, not very often now when I try to do it.
They make it every single day, including holidays.
Right.
So for them to F this up so bad makes me think like there's something happening. There's something happening at this Embassy Suites. So we decided that this was the thing. Why are we getting up early to get this like half-assed breakfast? Why don't we just enjoy our morning? We'll hot tub. We'll eat a piece of fruit. And then we'll just put it all into lunch.
Yeah, totally. I like that plan a lot.
I do too. And like it worked out for the best for us.
Do you normally eat breakfast?
So when I get to work, I usually have something when I'm at work.
Like what's at work?
So like I usually bring a piece of fruit,
Oh, okay.
something like that. Occasionally I've been known, like if I have to go to work really early, like if I go into work at like 6:30 or something, at 7:30 I'll go and I'll maybe get myself like a breakfast sandwich, or I will get a small thing of milk and then I keep Honey Nut Cheerios in my desk just in case a baby comes. Or if this big baby wants himself some Honey Nut goodness in the morning. I did eat an entire jar of olives last night.
Oh, boy.
They're garlic stuffed olives.
Well, I mean, it's just that they're olives, not that you did an entire jar. If you'd been
then
like,
I-
I did an entire jar of gummy worms, I'd be like, ooh.
Then I drank all the juice.
Blah.
Yeah, I did it all.
Gross.
They were from Trader Joe's.
I had Casey's pepperoni and pepperoni last night.
Okay, why do people only say pepperoni and pepperoni? It's pepperoni, pepperoni, pepperoni. I've seen the ads.
I like my way.
Just saying it twice?
Yeah.
You're not the only person who says it your way, but I'm worried that you guys are all you're going pepperoni, okay, pepperoni, you got it, and then not following through and seeing that there's a third pepperoni that's being offered.
Is there?
Pepperoni, pepperoni, pepperoni.
My understanding is I get that that's the phrase, but my understanding is it's two kinds of pepperoni that are happening, and that the three pepperoni phrase is just say it a third time.
Superfluous?
Yeah, it's extra. It's like your appendix, right? That's what it's there for, and it's gonna become inflamed, and then you got to get it removed. That's why I'm not using it. If you don't mind, if you don't mind me not going through the extra fucking.
So
step.
you're saying that the third pepperoni is the appendix?
Yeah, and it should be removed.
Okay.
Because you don't need it.
Because there's no third pepperoni.
But I'm suffering today because of it.
Yeah.
Because I ate it too quickly and I burned the shit out of the roof of my mouth.
Oh, that's no good.
That's no good.
Especially on hot cheese and sauce.
Yeah, and when you've got these this delicious pepperoni bowls that are sitting there,
With
right?
the little grease balls.
Oh my god.
Yeah, they're good.
And then they're extra toasties. They're going to cut up your mouth a little bit. That's the way to do it.
They're so like I want those to be burnt a little bit.
Yeah,
I want them to
absolutely.
be so crispy.
And I want them to drop the whole asterisk limited time only. Like, let's stop with the whole limited time only. You keep this forever now.
All time.
Let's
only.
not go back to the way things were. This is better. You can always do just a single pepperoni if you want.
There's someone out there who's like, that's too much.
Yeah.
They're like, the second pepperoni superfluous.
You once told me a story about, this might have been a Linebenders thing. You were somewhere, maybe it was for Applebee's corporate, I don't know, but you sat down and actually like had dinner or something with some muckety mucks at an Applebee's, and you were able to tell them all the things that you loved and didn't love. I would fucking love to find the CEO of Casey's, whoever they are, and be like, what do I need to do to get you to keep this whole pepperoni thing going? Like, how can we, I'll actually sign up for the Casey's gift card or the club that they keep trying to get me to sign up for.
You aren't signed up for that?
No.
Oh, dude, you're missing out.
The reason I don't is because there's so many things out there that want me to sign up for stuff, and I don't want to keep track of all of them. And I don't want to be like, that's another fucking account I got to
Do you think in the last year you've had 4 Casey's pizzas?
Yeah.
You get a fifth. Your fifth is free.
I still get that, though. You still get Casey. There's the.
So you're signed up on their rewards then?
I have an account to order things, but I don't know that I have a reward. Oh, is that?
That's the rewards, yeah.
Oh, that is just the rewards thing.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
thought it was just.
To order it online, you have to sign up. Like you're automatically enrolled in it. Like,
Well, shit. So I guess I do. Well, then what do I show them at the counter when they're like, "Are you on Casey's rewards?" And I'm
So
like,
then
no.
you say yes, and then you plug in your phone number on the
okay.
dial pad.
Okay.
And here's the thing. I agree with you. There's too many rewards.
Yeah.
Every place has got a rewards. I'm like, just don't. I don't need a Michael's rewards.
Right.
I only buy fake Easter grass once a year. I don't need it. But the Casey's one is one that I will say has been very rewarding for my family. The same way that I have the Amazon Prime Visa card, and that thing paid for a new rowing machine that's in my basement.
Nice.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, I'm really good at rowing. I think that maybe I should have been a Yaley. I think I maybe missed my opportunity there. So over the weekend, I decided that one job that I probably would like excel at is playing music at the Mall of America and choosing what's going to be the music that plays like in the hallways and what ad should come up after what particular song.
So not being the musician playing the music, but curating the music like
Bingo.
you're a radio station host.
Because whoever did it did not put any love and care into it. It's just like to add. And so there's one where it's like, I think we're alone now. There doesn't seem to be anyone around. And it was like, the Twin Cities Grill has the finest truffle fries. But then the next ad that played after that was for a store that sells unmentionables for the ladies.
Is that what they called it?
No, but I thought like that dum 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 bum bum bum. You know, first of all, Tiffany from the '80s, songstress of that generation. It caught Jill's attention right away, and I'm like, she sang through the whole thing, and I'm like, then you should have mentioned the unmentionables, because then you've got their attention, right? It's not just this abrupt like boom So I think that would have been a good job for me. And I don't know how you get it.
You could still get it.
Do you think so?
I mean, you're a young man still. There's a lot of time left.
I think so.
You could always parlay your local celebrity into that.
I think I decided what I'm going to do for my 40th.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. By the way, you just had a birthday that we didn't talk about at all on any of our podcasts.
Did we not talk about
We
it?
didn't talk about your birthday.
Are you sure?
I'm positive because we had to double up because I think I was gone that week. And then I didn't even think about it while we were recording it and leading into it. But happy belated birthday.
Thanks.
Yeah.
April Fool's Day.
April Fool's Day.
Yeah, I'm older now.
Do you think that anyone played a joke on your dad? Like the doctor came out like, well, he didn't make it. April Fools.
No, the story we've been told. So I keep running into people or meeting people in life who also have April 1st birthdays. And we all have variations of the same story, which is making me wonder if it's actually true or not. But the story that I was told was that when I was born, my dad called my grandparents, my mom's parents, to let them know, and they hung up on him because they thought he was pulling an April Fool's Day joke, and he had to get the nurse on. One of the crew members on AJ Goes to the Dog Park, Hattie, like she was born on April Fool's Day. I think she's got a similar story. I've heard that elsewhere in different places where it's like, yeah, maybe it's just really easy for that to happen to you if you have a baby on April Fool's Day because people are just going to assume that you're pulling one over on them. But
what does Marine see in that idiot playing jokes like this on April Fool's Day? How inappropriate.
Yeah, well,
Ugh.
he would have done that.
Yeah, I
For
mean,
sure.
that's the thing is like, like the boy who cried wolf. Don't forget, he did cry wolf before the real wolf showed up.
Yeah. I didn't do anything special for birthday. I don't have birthday parties really. I haven't in.
I'm celebrating the way Patton Oswalt does. It says like every time you hit a new decade, you're allowed to have like a party, a celebration.
That makes sense.
I think I'm gonna go to Austin.
You should.
Yeah.
Lots going on in Austin.
There's
Texas.
a lot of cool stuff in Austin. There's a great music scene. There's an awesome movie scene. I would eat my way through 5 or 6 cows before I come back home.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that would be where it's at.
Have you been there before?
Only once. Only once before, and it was delightful. I loved it.
I've only ever driven through Texas. I've never spent time in Texas. Traveled through it, basically.
It's like a country unto itself. There's different regions. Everyone's different.
So I hear.
Hey, you like Sloppy Joe's?
Love Sloppy Joe's.
Do you know what they call Sloppy Joe in Western North Dakota?
What?
A slush burger.
Okay, that doesn't work.
I know, right?
That does not work
But
at
apparently,
all.
like, if you go west of Bismarck, the center of the state, and you try and order a Sloppy Joe, they're like, what?
Where are you ordering a Sloppy Joe at?
Like roadside restaurants.
Okay. See, that's the thing is Sloppy
like at an elementary school.
Got it.
It's rectangle pizza, and then it's slush burger day.
Yeah. See, Sloppy Joes are something I've only ever eaten if like, hey, we're having Sloppy Joes tonight. Great, sounds good, right?
Mm-hmm.
I love it, but I've never ever ordered one at a restaurant. I don't
there
think
are
I
some
would.
places that sell really good Sloppy Joes.
Just like I've never ordered spaghetti at a restaurant,
yeah.
like with marinara or whatever, or spaghetti sauce. I don't think I've never ordered mac and cheese at a restaurant. I don't think I ever could. Because I'd be like, nah. I'm out. I'm out to eat right now. I want to do something better than that.
I ate at an Outback Steakhouse while we were in the Twin Cities for the first time since when Luke Beneke listens to this episode. He'll have to remind me of the date of his September. I can't remember what year he got married, but I officiated his wedding. He and Kendra, his wife, were kind enough to invite me to be a part of their wedding, and I was just bowled over and humbled that they would ask me to do that. And we ate at an Outback Steakhouse the night before, and I for sure got poisoned. For sure. So much so that like I had to sit in the car before the wedding and just go like, oh God. Oh God. And I'm like, suck it up. You've got 35 minutes. You're going to make this thing work. And so I went, I did it. And then we were like trying to sneak out. And he's like, where are you going? And I was like, I am going to blow out of both ends. So we got to go. And then I made Jill drive home.
Oh,
like
damn.
That's how sick I was.
Damn.
Jill drove home.
What did you eat?
So I'm always a prime rib, cheese fries, baked potato.
Cheese fries did it.
And so like, and then their ranch, the Outback Ranch is so good. So I've been avoiding it for a long time because of how shitty I felt, but I went back to it and we ate there for lunch when the game was delayed for rain because it's supposed to be a 3:10 game. And then they're like, we're going to wait till 5:10. We're like, oh, well, we'll have a nice long lunch. So this is one of the things I decided is that there are people who would hear that I went to an Outback Steakhouse while I was on vacation somewhere and go,
Oh,
what a waste.
You didn't go find some fancy schmancy
I didn't
locally
go.
thing.
I didn't go find some place that was locally sourced, stuff like that. I ate at some great local restaurants, but I also ate at places that I don't have available to me here.
Mm-hmm.
Now you can give me shit if I go eat at McDonald's when I'm there, right? Like that's fine for
I don't
you
care.
if you really
I support
want.
all your eating choices
But like
for the most part.
that's the thing is like I was like I don't care. Like these people got to pay their bills too,
I'd be like, it's my vacation, not yours.
right?
I'm gonna fucking do with my vacation what I want.
And it also bled into like my eating at home. Like I'm a foodie. I love making food. But you know what? Every now and then, somebody's already figured it out and it's better than me. Here's an example. As much as I work to make the perfect garlic toast, it'll never be as good as Texas toast in the freezer section.
Mm-hmm.
So tonight when I make spaghetti at home, I'm going to get Texas toast and I'm going to eat that.
Nice.
And it's going to be delicious and it'll sop up all the juices.
Mm-hmm.
It's so good.
That does sound good.
We were also going to eat at a Green Mill and did not make it to the Green Mill because we ended up. Have you ever eaten at a P.F. Chang's?
Yeah.
So there's something about their like Thai lettuce wraps that are out of this world, right?
Those
They're
are
so good.
Yeah.
So Jill and I go to Half Price Books, which is my favorite used bookstore. There's like 5 of them in the cities, but the one in St. Louis Park is the jam. So we go to that, and then afterwards I was like, let's go to P.F. Chang's for lunch. It's right on the way back to like where we need to go. That would be awesome. It'll be great. So we went off the beaten path. We went to the Southdale Mall, and I park at the end of the parking lot. We're skipping on up like we're headed to the big green doors of the Emerald City. And then there's a big sign that is handmade that says list location permanently closed.
Oh, no.
And I was like, son of a bitch. And they had pulled down the letters from the outside. And I thought maybe they were just going with a new font. And there was a Maggiano's next door too. And this is what I want to say. Printers are incredibly easy to find. And it's easy to send.
Judge the handwritten.
Yes. People are using too many. But here's the thing. It's not just that P.F. Chang's location. It's other places that have different hours because of their employees. Anytime you put a handwritten sign up, for example, when I bought you that delicious Pepsi you're drinking right now, on the keypad thing, there was a handwritten note that said no tap. Okay? And you could tell other people had touched it.
Yep.
It was grimy. It was curling around. So you have to actually uncurl part of it to see that it actually says no tap. Print it. Send that project to Office Depot, and for $1.50, they can laminate it. And then you've got a little sign out that says no tap. Or if you're an entrepreneur and you want to make a bunch of money, sell a business in assorted 50 signs that they can have that are already made. Maybe they're already laminated. So if you're going to have different hours, sell them one that has everything but the information's blank. They can write it on there with a Sharpie, or they can write it on there with a dry erase marker if they think it's going to be changing on a regular basis. It's a smart idea because I am sick and tired of businesses going in there and being like, stop with the handwritten signs already. Jeepers creepers.
Don't you think it makes it feel more at home?
No.
Don't you think it makes it feel a little more rustic?
Because I laminate stuff at my home. And if you want me, this is the other thing too.
Like, what is this, a co-op?
Right, exactly. Also, who says that that's the handwriting you should be using? Is that what the Casey's brand wants represented? They're like, what the hell is this? All caps?
There's no serifs.
This is not the Casey's font. What did you do this?
Handwritten fonts
Did you
should be
do
done
this?
in cursive
Maybe.
capital first letters, but everything else is printed.
Yes, and if you're going to have instructions, they must be in Times New Roman. 12 points.
It's black or blue ink.
So in the last 6 months, I've stayed at 5 hotels. Humble brag.
Jesus.
And during that time, all of them have started the same way. When I check in, it'll be a reservation under Gordon, and they're like, okay, fantastic. Now, of course, because of our COVID policies, we are not doing maid service. But if you do need your room cleaned, we need a 24-hour advance notice, and someone will clean the room after you vacate it. And so this time I actually stopped and I'm like, so there's no maid service. And they're like, well, by request. And I said, so if I want my room, I'm checking in Thursday night. And so I'm like, so if I want my room cleaned on Saturday, I have to call you by noon tomorrow and tell you I need it serviced. And then for sure I can't get it tomorrow. And she's like, that's correct. So I said, okay. And in my mind, I'm like, your prices didn't go down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But now you are employing maybe one or two people on your, cleaning team who are going around. And I was like, this really kind of ticks me off that we have just gotten to the point of where there's so much stuff because of COVID that we just are not, that people have just, businesses have decided that they're like, we're not going to just do the same.
I think what they found is like, hey, we actually can cut some costs and services and still make the same amount of money. We can actually make our product worse, but people will still pay for it.
Right.
So like, I think that's really what they did. It was like, I don't give a shit about you. I give a shit about you giving me your money for this building that I've got a loan for.
This same brand of hotel I stopped using for a long time because they decided to start charging for parking a couple years ago, which is,
yeah, it would be like, that's a no-go for me.
here. And like, here was my problem. So they started charging for parking, but it didn't guarantee you a space.
Yeah, no.
So it's not like I parked in space number 30. There was a night where there was a wedding taking place at the hotel, and I'm like, there's nowhere to park. And they're like, unfortunately, we've got a wedding tonight. It's like, well, but you charged me my $10 for each day.
Yeah.
Where am I supposed to park? And they're like, well, you could park at the Mall of America and take the shuttle back.
No.
Like, that's not going to happen.
Fucking sit on it.
And so I remember saying, like, I will leave the keys up front and you guys can find a parking space for it tonight at midnight or whenever you need to. And guess what? It was still in the same spot in their drive-through the next morning when I got there. But it reminded me of, they did the same thing in my high school, right? So Fargo South High, I graduated with a class of 500 plus. There were 1,500 plus kids at that school, not counting visitors, teachers, and support staff, all yada, yada, yada. And there were not that many spaces. And you think about this, there's probably spaces for like 500 people to park.
Yeah, I'd say so.
So that's a third of the total population that's there. Now, there probably were a lot of people who were not old enough to drive a car, who did not have a vehicle of their own. And so they're probably playing the odds. But there were a lot of times when I bought a parking pass and I could not find a space to park. And so I ended up getting a ticket by parking in like the Fargo Parks lot across the street. And I remember someone finally saying, like, this is BS. You know, if I paid for a parking spot, like if I paid for the privilege to park in this lot, you can't sell 110% of this thing.
You should only be able to sell 500 tickets.
Right,
or 500
exactly.
passes, basically.
And then you know what? If there's 20 people who are parking illegally while they're in there,
guess what? You're going to collect some money from them.
bingo, right?
Yep.
And also I remember I got like $10 back from my school maybe 5 years after I was gone because someone had sued them and said, because we paid for a locker fee like when I was in high school. It's $5 a year. I don't know why.
Okay.
But they
That
said,
was clearly something my parents paid and I didn't pay attention to it.
they were like, it's unlawful. Like this is like, you can't charge someone to rent a book for a year to take math. And they said a locker is a space that you can't rent.
Yeah, I mean,
to people.
it's what exactly are the tax dollars we're spending
Right.
going towards? Like, are you double dipping? And really, I think largely what it comes down to is these school districts get all their funding taken away all the fucking time. And so they have to they're expected to find more ways on their own to raise it. And so they're going to look for anything that they can try to, like, they can sell tickets to sporting events and stuff like that, right? But it's like, yeah, let's see what else we can wring out of the populace here, because the government's not going to give us the money we need anymore to run the school the way we need it. So we have to find other ways to take it.
I saw Hamilton while I was in the cities for a third time. Humble brag.
So, okay, hold on. You hate Hamilton.
No,
I distinctly remember you saying
I don't
maybe
hate Hamilton.
A strong word,
but I think Hamilton was maybe a little overblown for what it was.
Okay.
You know, I think the fact that people weep when they hear the Hamilton soundtrack, and I certainly think Lin-Manuel Miranda while he made something that's great, everything he touches does not turn to gold. So, but I can appreciate what it is. So this time I saw the best portrayal of Aaron Burr that I have seen, even beyond the original Broadway cast on like the Disney Plus. And this guy, so everyone else has kind of played Aaron Burr as this kind of just like straight lace and like, hello, my name is Aaron Burr and I'd like this. And seems to always kind of get his comeuppance, almost like this. He's like the straight character to Hamilton's, I'll do whatever it takes type thing. This guy, you watched him get frustrated throughout the show and and his attempts to be charming rather than being charming don't play off. And for the first time ever, I was like, damn, the character of Aaron Burr actually makes sense. Like, this is why this character was written to be, that he's the one who finally is the one who shoots Hamilton, and it's for no reason. Like, he literally started portraying like the things of like it's circumstance. Like, he is blaming all of his misfortune on Alexander Hamilton, but it's not his fault. It's Burr's fault himself for not kind of grasping the straws and for not doing the hard work that Hamilton did. And this is the first time I've ever caught that specifically in this show. And the guy was awesome. And I slipped into his DMs on Instagram and I was like, dude, you were awesome. This was the best portrayal I have seen of Aaron Burr. He sent a message back and goes, thank you so much. And he said, what's really tough is when you are in a character that everyone already knows, trying to define that for yourself and trying to read into the script and maybe find something that other people didn't is really difficult. And I thought to myself, that's really true of a lot of things. And it's not just for actors, but it's anyone who takes on any kind of a role that is in a legacy place, right?
Yeah.
So if you're the president of the bank, you could just do the things that the previous president did,
right,
and be there. But if you want to set yourself apart, you got to work harder. You got to dream bigger, and you got to define it. And I'm not a person who thinks that it's change for the sake of change, but change for the sake of innovation, I think is really important. And I was just like, this is such a unique spin to get your mind going.
What's making me think of is that old Got Milk commercial where the guy eats a massive peanut butter sandwich.
Yeah.
And the ratings are like, who shot Alexander Hamilton? Yeah, that's a good one.
It's a great Got Milk commercial. And it's like the bullet, the gun and everything like that. Yeah. And that guy who was in that was famous for a long time. He's kind of a bug-eyed, weird-looking guy and is in a bunch of movies in the 90s.
God, I'll have to go find that commercial again now because I can remember the commercial. I can't remember him.
He was in the movie Jury Duty with Pauly Shore.
Never saw Jury Duty with Pauly Shore.
You should watch a Jury Duty with Ron Gladden, the hero, as I pitched on the last episode. I've been telling... Have you ever loved something so much that you keep begging people to consume it, and you just it's like, I want you.
It makes you feel like a broken record. But
it does,
yeah.
And Jill was telling me, she's like, hey, you're selling this really hard, and I said, but what I want people to experience the same joy that I had.
Right.
It's the same reason why when someone tastes something that's weird or smells something bad, and they're like, oh, smell this, you want to share it with somebody else.
Right, but you can also think of it in terms of Hamilton, right? Because so many people tried to sell you Hamilton, like, oh my fucking God,
yeah.
it's this.
Thanks, Obama.
It's the greatest thing to ever walk across the stage, and it's like it's not super historically accurate when it comes to the events of what happened. Don't worry about the casting; that's not a problem whatsoever. But Hamilton wasn't that great of a guy either, all that kind of shit.
What's funny is do you remember the John Adams miniseries that was on with Paul Giamatti on HBO? The Alexander Hamilton portrayal in there, because now he's this, everyone loves him and he's this mythic figure, right? Everyone thinks that he's the greatest dude on the planet, even though there's 30 minutes of the show dedicated to him having a torrid affair and then paying to, keep it quiet, while continuing to have the affair. But he is portrayed in the John Adams miniseries as a guy who walks in, he goes, shall I wear the purple vest or the aqua vest? And Washington's in there, and he goes, I just don't care. And John Adams is like, look at this foppish gentleman, this little Lord Fauntleroy.
Yeah, that miniseries was also incredibly inaccurate, but a great show.
But fun. Actually,
Fantastic show.
see, I think 2 episodes of it are great, and then you're like, oh my God, how many more of these are there? How many more chapped
2.
lips?
Isn't it?
No, there's
Is
like
it
8
8?
episodes.
Is it an 8 episode?
Yeah. Because to me, the best episode of the John Adams miniseries is when he is the defense for the
British soldiers.
the British soldiers before the American Revolution, who are being tried for murder.
For Bloody Sunday, I believe. That's the first episode. That's a great episode. Another thing that series gets wrong is there's a like so wrong that it's like, yeah, you shouldn't have written that. Like, you should have just not had that. There's a sequence where Adams and Franklin and Jefferson, I think they're at Jefferson's house, and they're reading a current draft of the Declaration as he's written it. And they get hung up on this section about how he wants to abolish slavery. There's some line in there about how, and Jefferson's giving like, well, this is my opinion. And that wasn't Jefferson's opinion whatsoever.
No.
He owned slaves. He raped slaves. He was a bad guy in his own way, right? And it's like, yeah, I think what's interesting about the Founding Fathers is their time and place in history, and the thing that they did was pretty fucking nuts. But these were not good guys. These were objectively shitty fucking people who just happened to do something pretty amazing against a shitty empire. Yeah.
I mean, anytime somebody dies, we put them on a pedestal, right? And
I'm fascinated by these guys. Like I'm obsessed with this kind of history. So I read it all the time. Like I get it. But at the same time, I would really love to see a piece of media that does not lionize them in false ways. I get wanting to make something happen for dramatic purposes, but I would be much more interested in going, listen, this is the closest we think we can get to recreating what actually happened. The best to our abilities.
Bingo.
If it took them 2 weeks to get somewhere, great. It took them 2 weeks to get somewhere. Don't turn it into a day. We don't have to watch the 2 weeks, but no, it took them 2 weeks to get there, right? Keep that in. That's a part of it. Oh, this general wasn't there at that battle, but we no, he wasn't there. Don't fucking show him. Mm-hmm. Don't show him. I would love to make
They're all pooping in buckets.
Fuck yes,
Show
they
them
are.
Poop into a chamber pot.
Absolutely. There's and obviously you can only become so historically accurate because you don't have a time machine, right? So, but I think it's more in the attempt of it. And there are, while it's not a historically accurate necessarily film entirely, but The New World, Terrence Malick's film, The New World, with Colin Farrell in it. There are sequences when they're in America where that made me feel like, wow, I think they've actually captured what it actually would have felt like. Everything's overgrown, nothing is nice, everyone is dirty, everyone's fucking miserable, life sucks. And it created a feeling for me of like, I feel like I'm actually getting a window back into that time. And that's the thing I want a historical drama to do for me, is make me feel like I'm actually taking a look at what might have happened in that period of time.
I hated that movie.
You did?
The pacing is so poorly done. He spends like 10 minutes just watching like waves of grass go back and forth.
That's Terrence Malick for you, man.
His natural light experiment, and like, oh my God. I remember seeing that movie being like, when will this end? And I was like, and it's gonna be an Emperor's New Clothes situation. I know everyone's gonna be like, oh, did you see Malick's new movie? It's so good. Be like, yeah, I did. Also, side note,
I just remember liking it. Not that I thought like I didn't cum my pants about it.
I have a theory that the U.S. Army. So this is probably why these guys need to get their hot dogs, because they had to get to Army training. Army had a half day. But I firmly believe that when you go through boot camp, there's one day and it's after lunch, and they said, all right, everyone, get into the debriefing room. This sounds ridiculous, but in case of a Cloverfield type disaster or Godzilla attack. And then they just go through, it's a 1-page document that they keep in a folder, and they go, but we don't want to be caught with our pants down just in case, because you never know. And on that same length, I think that there's probably been a discussion where Steven Spielberg's like, are they working on a time machine anywhere? Because I would like to I'd like to make a historically accurate World War II film and a dinosaur film, so I could get real shots of real dinosaurs.
Can you imagine that? This is the first film with actual time travel in it.
Yeah. Well, that'd be the thing. Like, we're using time travel for Hollywood.
Yes. Oh shoot, we lost a grip in the Bronze Age, and
And everything's changed.
everyone's
You come
last names
back,
are different now.
all hail Todd, Todd the Destroyer, Todd the Bringer of Fire.
You'd have to be working with like a fragmenting of reality situation where when you go back, you're creating a new one, so you can always return to your present and not worry about, but you're messing someone else's thing up.
Do you ever hear, like, our buddy Baggies? Do you ever hear his idea for, I don't know if it was a movie or a book he was going to work on, but it was about time travel?
I don't think so.
Oh, God, it's a phenomenal idea.
Baggies and Pam, if you still listen to this podcast, you should tell us what it is.
Yeah, Baggies, if you still listen to this, reach out. Say what's up. Haven't heard from you in a while. I think at one point you said you were coming to Fargo, and then I ghosted your text. But if you're ever back here, or I just got back from the Twin Cities, but I'll be there again for Tootsie. You ever watch Tootsie?
Yeah. Dustin Hoffman, of course.
Tootsie is an amazing comedy
I have it on VHS, I believe.
that I just don't think that, like, it survives today the same way it
right.
was.
Yeah.
It did,
No, it definitely would be.
And now it's illegal to show that, like, in 9 states
What?
because it's drag.
Oh, yeah.
Go Tootsie, go dun 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 dun. Go Tootsie, go. That's going to wrap it up for today's show. If you enjoyed this episode and would like to help us continue to produce new episodes each week, visit jjmeetsworld.com, where you can donate to our Patreon, pick up some swag at the merch shop, or follow our link to Apple Podcasts and leave us a 5-star review. You can also follow us on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, all the sites the cool kids are using these days. JJ Meets World is produced every week by Tucker Lucas. You can find out more about Tucker's work by visiting moonbasemaria.com. If you want to get in touch with your host with the most, check out linebenders.com, where you can find direct contact info for JJ or booking information. Did you finish all those bugles? Nod your head. Yeah, buddy. Yeah.